Good morning. My name is Meredith Harris with the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation, and welcome to episode 26 of Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. Jill?
We're back, Meredith.
It's really great to see you.
Great to see you, too.
It's been quite some time since we've been together on EED.
Right. So if you're a fan of the show, which obviously...
You're all fans of the show,
obviously. Right? The past, what has it been, 5 episodes?
Well, it's been 5 months.
5 months. We have, Meredith's been out.
I had a little thing going on.
A little something called Benny.
That's my little beautiful baby boy.
Yeah.
So kind of a funny story. The last episode I was on was in March with John Pizzoni, which was a great episode.
Yep.
And then the next morning for Inside the Industry, when we did the sports tourism, the baby decided to come the night before. So I wasn't able to join you guys, which I was really bummed. But I do remember watching the episode from my hospital bed with the baby. And it was really fun. On that note, I want to take a second and say,
yay.
Thank you, and shout out to Lindsay Jarrick, who did an incredible job the entire time that I was out. I think Lindsay did 3 episodes.
She did 3 episodes,
which was awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lindsay. You did a wonderful job. It's going to be big shoes for me to fill and come back, but I'm excited to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So some housekeeping. If you're joining us for the first time, let us know. If we're live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And also we'll be streaming and sharing this broadcast on our local cable access channel, WMCT TV. So down below you can see our email address and our phone number if you want to join the conversation, if you have any ideas or suggestions on future episodes, anything you want us to clarify about economic development or Marlborough.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're here for it.
Yeah. We're excited.
Yeah. But so Meredith, just before we move on to this episode, the summer.
We took the summer off.
We took the summer off from our live stream.
We did.
Yeah.
We had no fun.
No fun. we really just buckled down.
We did. We were just working really hard. We did nothing fun. And there's our guest. He wasn't with us during the summer, but.
Surprise. So yeah, we where's this picture at? Where's this?
So this is Fort Meadow.
Yeah.
This was our team outing. We just thought it'd be fun to throw up some pictures and show you guys. We were off from the podcast, but we have been working. We've been having fun.
Really hard.
We've been working really hard and enjoyed the summer. So we hope you guys all enjoyed the summer as well. But this was our team outing. You can get kayaks. This was kind of cool. I learned something new that I didn't know before. But you can rent kayaks if you're a Marlborough resident for free. During the summer months, which was really awesome. And so we went out and we had a lot of fun doing it. Thank you to the Marlborough Rec Department. Yes, that's right. So without further ado, that's all of our fun stuff. We'll get out of the way. We're really excited this morning. We have a very special guest, a very fun guest, Peter Abair from Mass Econ. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Pete. Pete, thanks for being here with us this morning.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. I didn't bring any summer photos, though. I wish I had. But,
did you have a good summer?
It was a great summer. It went too fast.
It did. And you guys just had your summer reception and people were kind of back in person, and that's all exciting stuff.
Indeed. It's great to have in-person events again. And so we really saw that start to happen again this summer, and we'll continue that going forward.
Keep going.
Yep.
So before we get into Mass Econ, which we love Mass Econ, one of our favorite partners that we have here in Massachusetts in Marlborough, tell us about yourself. You have a really awesome economic development resume. So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Born and raised in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I'm a Massachusetts guy. Went to Boston University undergrad, UMass Amherst grad school. Did a stint down in Washington, D.C., working on Capitol Hill for about 4 years. Worked for Congressman Silvio Conti, who has represented Western Massachusetts for about 35 years. And he passed away, came back to Massachusetts, and just have enjoyed a lot of different types of positions over the years. I ran the governor's Western Massachusetts office during the very late in the Weld years.
No big deal.
Through Salucci, and
no big deal.
Worked in Secretary of Education's office, but really in the work in Western Massachusetts, running the governor's office there. I really grew a sort of an earnest affinity to economic development. I mean, being from Pittsfield, which had great economic days and more difficult ones more recently, the idea of being working at the tactical level to help bring jobs to Massachusetts really was something I was interested in. And so Department of Housing and Community Development after that. I worked for 12 years at Mass Bio.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I just learned that this morning.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was a great experience. It's a great industry organization, and I joined at a time when the industry was growing, but it hadn't
exploded
popped
yet.
And so in my 12 years there, the industry almost doubled in size in terms of employment. And I was working in economic development and global affairs, working with entertaining a lot of different dignitaries from around the world who were interested in what was going on in Massachusetts. So it just became a great opportunity to showcase Massachusetts, talk about our strengths as a place to do business. And when the position at Mass Econ became available, Susan Houston had been the founding executive director. When she announced her retirement, I jumped at the chance of going to Mass Econ. So I've really loved I'm in my 4th year now since that, and it's been an interesting 4 years.
I was going to say, you came on right before the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
you were there for like a year?
I had about a year.
Yeah.
About a year, and then the pandemic hit. And yeah, I know we'll talk about it, but the pandemic did not slow things down. Things just accelerated in terms of economic development projects that we as an organization worked on, and Massachusetts as a whole has benefited from. Just an incredible few years of growth.
Right. And just in a different way, right?
Yeah,
a totally different outlook. But so all your experience, incredible experience, Mass Econ. Tell us a little bit about Mass Econ. I think it's really interesting that you bring the Western Massachusetts perspective to Mass Econ, because for us out here in Marlborough, one of the suburban communities, that's awesome. And it was kind of like the Lieutenant Governor of Polito, when she came on, brought kind of that perspective where some of us out here maybe felt like we weren't getting the love beforehand, but there's been some really influential people over the last, 10 to 12 years that have brought a different perspective from kind of our area and beyond. So I think that's awesome. And, just tell us a little bit about Mass Econ and your role there and what you guys do.
Yep, Mass Econ. It's a great organization. It is not part of state government. It is a private nonprofit organization. It has a statewide mission around economic development. So what Mass Econ does, it's also a membership organization. We have 80 member organizations. The Marlborough EDC is one of our great members, and
Thank you.
Great participant.
You really emphasized great.
That's
nice.
Right, that's right.
Nicely
I'll use
done.
great a lot.
Happy to be a member of Mass Econ, for sure.
But we work across the state on and bringing economic opportunity to Massachusetts, helping companies here grow. We have some unique services that we provide. So Massachusetts doesn't, as a state, does not do a lot in terms of promoting itself as an economic development destination. So we at Mass Econ have taken on a particular role of focusing on corporate decision makers around real estate, corporate site selectors who are in the position of working with companies to help find new locations. We market to them. We talk about the best attributes of Massachusetts to them, and so that's an important thing we do, market Massachusetts. We also provide site location services to the Commonwealth. So we are a partner with state government. Full partner. We have a great relationship with this administration and with past administrations. We work very in concert with the Mass Office of Business Development, Mass Development, Mass Life Science Center, all of these state organizations. But we can do things that they can't do. And so in terms of site location services, if the governor were to get a phone call tomorrow from a corporate head looking for an opportunity to consider Massachusetts as a destination, and these are the criteria of our search, that would come to us at Mass Econ. We would find the available spaces that met the criteria of that prospect. So we're often getting those referrals from our partners in state government, or they're coming directly to us because we have done all this work over the years in developing relationships with corporate site selectors who are based all over
the place. So we've had MOBD. You've talked about MOBD mass development. So we've had Kevin Kiros on the podcast. Kelly's been on the podcast. So we've talked a little bit about some of these different partners that you're referencing, and we'll get into Team Massachusetts too. But that's kind of how it all. I mean, maybe get into it right now, right? So that's kind of what Team Massachusetts looks like, right? All these folks coming together.
That's exactly right. And we convene a Team Massachusetts meeting on a regular basis, and we're working at any given time. Different organizations are working on projects, sometimes exclusively or working in partnership with other organizations, but we share information so everybody knows what's happening, how they can contribute to a project. We're involved most often on the real estate side, trying to find the building, find the site. We're also involved often at the front end, most often at the front end, when we get a request for proposal from a prospect company that is information centric. They want every type of information about Massachusetts, labor market information, real estate tax information, incentives information, all of that. And we often are in the position of providing that initial response, or in the case where the state, one of our state partners is providing that response, we're supplying a lot of that
information to them.
And so it's as an organization, Mass Econ, because we are not part of state government, we're again this nonprofit. We depend on collaboration to exist and to be successful, and we have a simply great collaboration with Team Massachusetts, which does so much. It's we don't talk about it enough. And I think the concern of many might be, well, who's running the show? How does this all get done? Why isn't was Massachusetts in this competition for this project? And how did how did that company not come here to Massachusetts? We're all involved. We all work incredibly well together. And then there are our other partners. You leave the state level, it's cities, it's towns, it's regional organizations that are also become part of that partnership, especially when a property has been identified in a community that makes sense for a prospect. Suddenly, that city, that town is incredibly important in making that project happen.
Well, so it sounds very similar for folks that are watching to what we do, but on a larger scale, right? So a lot of folks don't do economic development the way that we do it in Marlborough either. So we're also a nonprofit organization. We are not technically part of the city, but we're funded through city dollars. So it's kind of a unique structure the way that we do it here in Marlborough, but sounds very similar to what you guys do. But at the end of the day, want everybody to work together. We all have the same end goal, right? To make Massachusetts, for us, it's Marlborough, a more prosperous economic place for companies to come and grow and job growth.
Meredith, can you clarify that one line that you said about that we're not a city department, but we are funded through
city dollars.
Can you just clarify that for anyone who's joined us the first time?
Absolutely. Yep. So we're funded through the city's hotel tax.
Okay.
So years ago, the community came together to implement the local option hotel tax, but Marlborough was very unique in saying there's going to be one caveat with this. We'll do it, but it has to be used for economic development only.
Yeah.
And so that was special legislation. So the funds that are collected through that tax can't just be used for general fund or something like that. It has to be used specifically for economic development.
So most of those people that the tax money that's coming in
is from visitors.
Correct. Not from our residents.
From our residents.
Which is something I think we should always clarify when we have the opportunity.
Right. And the fact that we have this funding stream is unique, and it's kind of cool, and it allows us to do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do, much like Mass Econ's able to do that for the state. So, us being able to travel with Mass Econ and go on site selector trips, things like that, we might not be able to do that if we weren't structured the way that we are.
It's an incredible advantage for Marlborough to have the EDC, and it's a great asset. If I could wave a wand, any community over 20,000, I would say, you should have an EDC.
Yeah.
Because an organization such as yours provides one great expertise that is difficult to replace, and continuity and historical memory and connections within the community that not only the day-to-day work that you do on businesses that are already here, but in terms of what we do at Mass Econ in terms of potentially bringing new opportunities to a community, having a resource like the Marlborough EDCs is an incredible advantage to us and to the community. And we encounter certainly with smaller towns or towns that don't have as established economic development capacity in town hall. We've encountered projects that would potentially bring 200-300 jobs to a community.
Right.
They found the property owners all in favor of it. The folks in town hall initially are seemingly absolutely sounds great. Let's make that happen, and then
it falls apart.
The neighborhood support isn't there.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you're putting 100,000 square foot here in this field.
Right.
Even though it perhaps is designated
zoned commercial,
zoned for commercial.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's that, and so we have had that happen with projects, and suddenly that's bad not only for the community, it's bad for Massachusetts because we're in the potential of losing this employer to another state. Having an organization like Marlborough EDC that knows where all the potential red flags are in a community is again an incredible advantage.
That's awesome. How often do you see that happen? That the neighbors kind of rise up, and does that happen often, or is it few and far between?
It has happened.
Yeah.
Too often.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you get a read on a community, and you start to, as you get farther with a project, and hopefully it happens early in a project, you get enough. You get enough pushback from the folks that you are working with in a city or town to understand that's a bit of a red flag.
Yep.
Are there better sites that we could be showing this prospect in Massachusetts? And so we're Massachusetts first.
Yeah.
We want the project
here
to either grow here, expand here, or locate to Massachusetts. So we're Massachusetts first. And so we're looking for sites that make sense. They have the infrastructure, they have the community support. We're looking for that capacity as well at the local level to bring together people that are needed around the table when this prospect does visit.
Right.
You need it's the
you
site plan
of
review concept, bringing together all the pertinent departments, saying, this is what you can get for water. This is what the sewer situation is. This is your closest utility
all that
connection.
Stuff matters.
All that, it's so important.
Right.
Do you find? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say. I think back to your point, and not to toot our own horn, right? But I'm going to toot our own horn.
Tooting.
That having us be able to, we have identified, to your point, a lot of those red flags ahead of time. So when you call me with a project, and we're looking at this site, I typically already know, this neighborhood might be upset about this, or and we're able to go out and work with those residents to find out what are the pain points. Can we compromise on some of this stuff? Is it an absolute no-go? Because if it's a no-go, you don't want to waste people's time, money, energy, all those kind of things.
Right.
But it's kind of unique that we're able to do that ahead of time and not waste the time and the energy and the resources.
Yeah.
It's
which
that
is unique.
capacity to be proactive.
Right.
And in other communities, there's a lot of education that needs to take place between us, our state partners, and the folks in that city or town hall about what needs to be done around one of these projects to support that happening. And some deadlines are incredibly important.
Right.
If we don't respond as an organization to a request for information from a project by 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, we're out.
Gone. Yeah.
Wow.
Massachusetts is no longer in play, and so we have to be responsive. And then when it gets to that next level, of now they're looking for more information. It's site specific. Not being able to get that information on a timely basis. And so that's, again, we never have that concern in Marlborough.
Good, I'm glad.
Yay!
That's what we like to hear.
Absolutely true.
And so Doug Kellum is, I don't know what Doug's title is, but Doug's been part
Senior
of
Director.
Senior Director. All right. So Doug's been part of Mass Econ for as long as I've been around, and we've had a great relationship with Doug and Anna, your whole team. Everybody's been phenomenal. But so I've traveled the country with Doug several times to different site selector trips, and the importance of those trips, I can't say it enough, right? So the fact that Massachusetts itself doesn't do a lot to promote or to market, back in years ago, they didn't really need to, right? There's so much education here. There's all those things, but you do need to do that. There is this idea that we don't need to, but we do. We need to be out there. When we go out and talk to different site selectors around the country, just putting ourselves on the map is so incredibly important. And Doug's done a great job with that. You guys are doing a great job. I think Doug was actually just recognized as one of the top site selectors in,
Yes.
was
Yep.
it in the country?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of those relationships on a national level, of what that means to Marlborough, Massachusetts, all of us?
Yeah, it is very important. There are states that have much bigger budgets in terms of marketing themselves. And so what we try to do at Mass Econ is identify events, often industry events, industry trade shows, or site selector centric events that make sense for Massachusetts. So what's an industry where we have a competitive advantage as a state? Life sciences, information technology, defense, robotics, advanced manufacturing. Those are places of particular strength for Massachusetts. So we look to identify a certain number of events over the course of the year around the nation where we can attend representing Massachusetts and wave that Massachusetts flag and make those important connections with folks in that industry and with the corporate real estate folks and site selectors who are there. And so we've been very fortunate to have Marlborough EDC participate in many of these. And sometimes the only community that's along with the state in doing that. Sometimes we'll have other companies from the private sector involved in those. But it's really that Team Massachusetts approach again in terms of representing Massachusetts at a important event with key decision makers.
Absolutely.
If we weren't there, Massachusetts wouldn't be there.
Right.
And sometimes you don't hear from some of those connections till years later.
That's absolutely true.
And so you kind of go out and we're always talking about what's the ROI, what's the return on the investment, and you go and then 5 years later you'll get a call, hey, remember me from such and such event, back when, and that's when you start to see it kind of come full circle. And when the company's ready to make a move or ready to grow, we are on their radar, which is invaluable. Which is really great. So the other thing you guys do that we think is really awesome is the Impact Awards. And they used to be held in November, but now you've moved them, I think, to April.
Oh, I think I have a picture here from your website that just happened to pop up. It's on the rotation.
One of the premier events of the year. Everybody looks forward to it. It's such a great time. And it's really a good opportunity for us, communities, to be able to nominate companies that are doing really great things in the Commonwealth. And so, Pete, tell us a little bit about the Impact Awards.
Well, we, as a state, for considering some of these companies that are making these incredible investments in Massachusetts, and that's what they're doing. They're investing in Massachusetts with a facility, with employees. And years ago, we determined we have to recognize these great employers who are either expanding in Massachusetts and making really substantial investments, growing their workforce, helping support the economy in Massachusetts. There needs to be a recognition of that.
Celebrate it.
So hence the Team Massachusetts Economic Impact Awards, which will be held in 2023 on April 6th.
Mark your calendars now, folks.
At Gillette Stadium, and they hosted us last year. It was a great event, our first large event coming out of the pandemic. It came off very well. Yeah. And we identify somewhere around 15 companies a year around the state, in every region of the state.
Right.
And so, the scale is sometimes different. It might be a company that's that has increased its employment from 10 to 20
Sure.
in Western Massachusetts, but they've made a significant investment in terms of what their company can do
Right.
in the Berkshire economy or the Hampshire economy. So we want to recognize we've recognized and that's what the governor was at our event this past year, as he often is, most often.
And I was going to say he usually is always
and before
there.
that, the past governors have always
Yeah.
participated, because it is a good news,
Celebration.
good feel
Yeah.
event that we're recognizing these great companies. But the Governor Baker got up and said, I love the range of companies that you're honoring. We're honoring seafood companies whose CEOs are out on trawlers in
Right.
some cases, along with the rest of the workers working that aspect of the business to the largest corporate employers in the world.
Right.
And so we have an incredible range of
Huge.
industries. Every region is represented. We have gold, silver, and
Yeah.
bronze awardees. And Marlborough has been well represented over the years in terms of Impact Award winners.
Yeah,
and so
Meredith?
Yeah, I think the last one that we had was Quest Diagnostics, which clearly Quest Diagnostics had a huge impact, not just in Marlborough, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
but worldwide,
Yeah.
In 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
So we were really proud of them. I think SanDisk was another one. That was one of my first Economic Impact Awards that we went to. And there are more, but
Yeah,
those are the two that
that's
stand out
awesome.
in my mind that, were nominated
I
and
believe
honored. and-
Cytiva, with GE Healthcare initially,
Correct.
then Cytiva
Yep.
was also recognized.
All
And as you
fabulous
said,
companies.
more than that. But Marlborough is a great destination for businesses, and that's reflected in our Impact Awards.
So on that note, you deal with a lot of communities. You guys are dealing with companies that are looking in. What, in your mind, Pete, makes Marlborough attractive? What, if a company's coming in to look, and what would make you tell them to come look at us?
First and foremost, with any company looking to locate any business, it's workforce. Workforce is number one, and having access to workers with different skills that employers need. Marlborough is incredibly well situated to draw from the 495, 128 area to support businesses here. It's a well-educated workforce in the region. Massachusetts has the best educated workforce of any state in the United States. We're number one. We have the healthiest.
Yeah.
We're the healthiest state.
Are we?
Just recently designated for something like the third year in a row, the
Cool.
healthiest state.
I didn't know that.
Wallet Hub just said
Ah,
Massachusetts
okay.
is the number one state in which to live.
Okay.
So there are a lot of there's a lot of wonderful things to talk about
Right.
Massachusetts, and it holds true for Marlborough as well. Being on 495, having close access to the Mass Pike right down
Right.
the road, those are important attributes. The commercial real estate base here is very strong.
Yeah.
You have the capacity to host larger operations along with small, and it's also a city that has a lot of the characteristics that larger employers will want. You have a vibrant downtown.
Right.
You have all the different retail. You have I know in terms of the public schools doing very well. The Math and Science Academy doing extremely well. So these are important things for employers.
Right.
And so it's a very rich and wealthy mix of these characteristics that Marlborough has. Very bullish on Marlborough in terms of future prospects.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it really, and what we're seeing right now in terms, it's a crazy commercial real estate marketplace right now in eastern Massachusetts, and we're coming out of the pandemic as we are, and we know that retail was adversely affected during the pandemic. and yet we're seeing mall and retail conversions to different uses. We're seeing office space converted to lab space,
which is so expensive, but people are doing it.
There are 30 million square feet of commercial lab space and GMP space in development around the life sciences in Massachusetts.
Just coming from before this, the reason that we had to change the time for this morning's broadcast is because we had a groundbreaking in Marlborough, 1000 Nickerson Drive, for a GMP facility. They're building on spec LPC. Incredible. It's incredible to see people doing that right now.
Never would have happened 5, certainly 10 years ago. Building life science manufacturing space on spec. Without an anchor.
All right. So coming in as the resident that does not have the big background on economic development. I've come a long way. Tell me about, what does that mean, on spec?
You are, as a developer, building a building for which you do not have a tenant.
Okay.
And so you're building a building, whether it's flex or for manufacturing specifically or what have you. You're building it without a tenant in place, which means you have secure financing, which is great, but you're taking an element of risk there that you will eventually have the tenant. The life science market is so strong right now. There is no vacancy for life sciences in Greater Boston. There's very minimal vacancy out as far as 495, and the need for larger spaces around biomanufacturing, as an example, is very strong. So while there is risk involved right now, that's a great bet. It's a great bet to have that kind of space in the inventory and right here in Marlborough.
Available. Right.
It's a field of dreams type situation, is what you're saying. If you build it,
they will come.
They're ready to come.
So right now there's 30 million square feet in development, in some phase of development around Massachusetts, in the for life sciences, whether it's lab, manufacturing, or even office in some cases, corporate headquarters, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's an extremely large amount of space. 30 million square feet is more than most life science property available in our competitor states.
Yeah.
It's more than North Carolina. It's more than.
And that's just development. That's not what's existing.
That's right. That's just there's 40 million in existing life science space, and so we're almost doubling it in the next 5-6 years.
Do you think the demand is there to fill all that?
By all accounts, demand is that strong in the life sciences. So folks out there listening, watching, if you're wondering what the kids and grandkids might do in the future, absolutely have them look to the life sciences. And remember that there are a lot of jobs in the life science space, the whole spectrum of types of positions. So that's an incredible growth that we're seeing in terms of commercial space. And the other is just flat out industrial space. We have 13 million 13 million being developed in the industrial space, which can mean, can mean warehouse distribution, can mean manufacturing.
Right.
It can mean flex space that can do one or the other. Yeah. So that's a lot of space in development as well. And again, there's a high demand. So really, as we think about the future, it's really, we know the demand is there. We know these products are coming online. In a lot of cases, there are anchor tenants that are waiting for these facilities right now.
Yeah.
They can't build them fast enough. That's the problem.
They can't build them fast enough.
Right.
We need the workers.
That's the other problem.
It's our great advantage in Massachusetts. We have this incredibly talented, deep workforce, but it is hard to find people for these high demand positions.
Which is so interesting. I know we were just talking about this before we came on, but the workforce right now, we know that we know it's there. It's just like where is everybody, right? I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but it is not one industry in particular either that is having trouble finding employees. It's across the board. It's everybody. I don't think we're going to solve that today, but that's probably the biggest issue I think facing companies right now is being able to fill positions. There's jobs available. They just can't find people to come and fill them.
It's a big issue. It's a national issue,
it's not just us.
Even a global issue for that matter. What we really need to know in Massachusetts is, are we doing better than our competition in terms of filling jobs, or are we doing worse? And we don't exactly know where we are. We know we can show the workforce for different industries in terms of number of people that are working in that industry, but in terms of how many people are available to work in that industry, it's a little more difficult.
And the unemployment rate is so low, and it's an interesting conversation, and we could talk about that for a whole nother.
Well, we're actually not to promote Mass Econ events too much.
Please do it.
Go right ahead.
We'll be hosting an event in late October. We haven't quite pinned down the date yet, which will be focused on that issue. How are we doing versus the competition in terms of filling high-need jobs?
Awesome. We'll make sure that we'll have to tune. Is it an in-person event?
Absolutely.
All right. I love that. I'm excited to be back in person with people. It's fun. It's fun.
I'm with you.
So, Pete, believe it or not, we've bumped up against our time. But before we let you go, what types of the companies, anybody that's listening, what type of companies are you guys looking to talk to? What things can you guys do for them? Kind of your pitch of, is it every size company? What can you do for folks that are looking to get involved?
I mean, generally, we, in terms of site location services, we prefer to work at 10,000 square feet or higher. But if a partner comes to us and says, can you help this company that's at 5,000 square feet and they want to go to 15, we're absolutely willing to do that. So we and that's exactly what we do, and that's what I want to leave on the table. If you are a business owner and you are looking to grow significantly in that 10,000 square feet or up type of range, and perhaps you don't want to work, we in the end we always expect you to be working with a broker. We don't want you to walk into a negotiation without a broker, but to give you a lay of the land, to give you a sense for what is out there, that's what we can assist with. And we can, once we are working with you on that aspect, if the growth involves new investment, new employment, then we can also talk to you about incentives and things like that, and what might be available to help you grow in Massachusetts. So
you guys are good at making connections.
That's right.
Yeah, giving people the roadmap that they need to follow to be successful, which is great.
Right, and when you're working with Mass Econ, you're not working with the state.
Right.
So we're a partner with the state, but there's that much, everything.
A little bit of separation.
Everything is held in confidence, non-disclosure agreements, all that sort of thing can be in place, and your information is protected.
And you guys do that well. I mean, sometimes we get like, because there'll be like a code name, and we try to figure out who they're working with. Come on, just tell us. We want the gossip. But you guys do a really good job of being able to keep that code of confidence.
Code names are a big part of it. Everything has a code name.
Who comes up with the code names?
Very rarely do we. Sometimes we're asked to. I'll just give it a name, but usually it's somebody's favorite son's or daughter's favorite toy.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Or something like that. In Dallas or in San Diego or something like that.
I don't know if we could use my kid. Tiny One Baby is Kenny's favorite toy is Tiny One Baby. I can't see that being
a good code name.
Tiny One Baby?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Hey, it'll work.
That would work.
Could you make it work? Could you just slip that in there?
Absolutely. Pete, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here with us, and it's been great to be back on the podcast. So thank all of you for tuning in and joining us for episode 26, and we look forward to being back for episode 27. The 1st of October. It's the first Wednesday of October, but we're actually going to be doing a special Inside the Industry for October. It is Manufacturing Month, so we're going to be celebrating Manufacturing Month and talking to some of our local companies that specialize in just that.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.